I was standing about 6 feet away when it happened. The work retreat photos hit my phone at 2 a.m. The same coworker, the same lap, the same smile my girlfriend had called just a game. Hours earlier, she laughed. Can you not be so jealous? I didn't argue. I left a 6-word note on the fridge and walked out. By sunrise, everyone knew which part of the game I had finally stopped playing. I'm Alex, 29, software engineer at a mid-sized tech firm. Sarah and I had been together for 2 years when this happened. We met at a mutual friend's birthday. She was in marketing at a small agency then. Sharp and funny, and the kind of person who could hold a room without trying. I liked her immediately. Things moved naturally from there. We got an apartment together, split expenses, built something that felt stable and honest. She called me her safe person early on. I took that seriously. When she got the chance to move to a bigger creative agency, better clients, more visibility, more money, I was proud of her. When the transition got rough and she was between paychecks for about 3 months, I covered her share of the rent. $800 a month. Not a loan. I didn't frame it as one. She was building something, and I wanted to be the kind of partner who made space for that. The new job changed things gradually. Later nights. Creative retreats showing up on the calendar with no real description. Team drinks becoming a regular Tuesday. I understood it: new environment, new energy. I didn't push back on any of it. But Mike started showing up in her daily rundowns a lot. Mike came up with this concept, and it actually worked. Mike gets the creative side in a way most people don't. Mike and I stayed late to get the pitch done. I mentioned once carefully, not accusing anything, that she talked about him more than anyone else from the office. She said, "Can you not be weird about my coworkers?" I let it go. I told myself it was just new job excitement. She was happy. That was all it was. But that was when the pattern started, even if I didn't name it yet. Every time I raised something mild and reasonable, she had a word ready. Uptight. Overthinking. Making it weird. Trust issues. Not spontaneous enough. She had a whole vocabulary for my concerns that converted all of them into my problem. And I'd been absorbing those labels long enough that I'd started second-guessing my own reactions before I'd even fully had them. I didn't see that clearly until the night of the party. Sitting alone at 1 a.m, finally looking at things without her framing on top of them. The party was at Jake and Priya's place. About 15 people I'd known for years. Started low-key and got louder after the first hour. The drinking game kicked off around 10. Dares, questions, the usual escalation. I was halfway in it, half somewhere else in my head. Sarah was fully present, always the most alive in a crowd. Mike was there. He'd come to a couple of group events before. Charming, easy with people, takes up space without effort. Then his turn in the game came. He looked across the circle at Sarah and patted his knee. 1 second of quiet. She laughed, scanned the room for the reaction, and sat down. The circle responded the way those circles do. Someone cheered. Mike put his arm around her waist. She leaned in, still laughing. Jake was standing next to me. Neither of us said anything. She glanced at me once, just a flicker, and didn't stop. When the round ended, she got up and came over. I thought that was the moment. I thought she was going to say something. Even just a quiet sorry. That got weird. She looked at my face. And she said, "Can you not be so jealous? It's just a game." Not a whisper. Jake was right there. Priya was nearby. A few others were close enough to catch it. She didn't wait for an answer. She turned and went back. I stood there for about 30 seconds. No scene. No speech. I found my jacket by the door and walked out. Standing in the cold parking lot, getting my keys out of my pocket, I didn't have a plan. I just knew I was done trying to make someone understand something they had already decided wasn't real. I drove home. I found the sticky notepad in the kitchen drawer and wrote, "Not jealous anymore. Not your boyfriend either." I put it on the fridge at eye level. Went to bed. That was the last night I spent explaining myself to her. I didn't sleep. I got home, made tea I didn't drink, and sat on the couch while the evening replayed. At some point, I picked up my phone and opened Sarah's Instagram. I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe I was looking for something normal, a photo that would make the night feel smaller than it was. The photos loaded. 9 of her last 14 posts featured Mike. Not all of them together. Nothing that would look wrong in any single image. But 9 posts. The agency rooftop. A team birthday dinner. A creative retreat upstate, the same one she described to me as just work stuff. A Friday happy hour. In most of them, they were close. In one of them, a group shot from the retreat. His hand was on her shoulder, and she was leaning in toward him. She had never mentioned that photo. The retreat had come and gone, and she'd posted it to her followers and just hadn't thought to bring it up with me. One caption, "My fave creative partner." I sat with that for a long time. The posts were public. She'd put them up herself. She wasn't hiding them from the world, just not including me in them. Or not even that, maybe. Just not thinking I was someone who needed to know. Then the labels came back to me, one by one. Every time I'd raised something reasonable over the past year, she had a word ready. Uptight, overthinking, weird about her coworkers, trust issues, not spontaneous enough. I thought about the night in August. I'd mentioned casually, no accusations, that she and Mike seemed to text constantly. She'd looked at me like I'd said something embarrassing. "I don't know what you want me to do about my work friendships. Not everyone works in a quiet office." I'd laughed it off. Dropped it. Didn't want to be that guy. I thought about how many times I'd walked out of a conversation with her wondering if I was the problem. How many things I'd stopped saying because I didn't want to hear the label that came with them. How long I'd been filtering my own instincts through her definitions of me. Sitting there at 1 in the morning, I stopped letting her framing do the work. She hadn't been calling me jealous because I was acting out of line. She'd been calling me jealous because it was easier than having a real conversation. The label existed to end things before they started. I hadn't been too jealous. I hadn't been irrational. I'd been paying attention. And that, apparently, was my flaw. It takes a specific kind of confidence to call someone's attention a character defect. I'd spent a year believing her. I put my phone down and went to bed. The note was still on the fridge. Sarah found it at 2 in the morning. The text started at 2:07. What does this mean? Then, "Alex, I'm home, where are you?" Then, "Answer me?" I had my phone on silent. Didn't see any of it until morning. By the time I woke up, I had 14 texts and 3 voicemails. I read through them in order. First few, confused. Then apologetic, "I didn't think it would hit you like that. I'm sorry." Then irritated, "I can't believe you left without saying anything. That was really immature." Then, at 3:18 the morning, "You know what? This is literally your trust issues. This is exactly what I've been dealing with." Then a voicemail where she was crying. Then, "Fine. Be like that." I put my phone down. Not to be cold. I just didn't have a response that would mean anything. She'd run the whole cycle in 6 hours and ended on my trust issues. By noon, Lisa had texted. "She's really upset. Are you serious right now?" She was literally just playing a game. Then Sarah's mom, that afternoon, "Alex, you can't throw 2 years away over one night. She made a mistake. Please just talk to her." Then her sister, "You've always been a little hard to read. I think this is worth working through." Each message had the same shape. Alex overreacted. It was just a game. He has trust issues. He's punishing her for nothing. Not one of them asked me what happened that night. They already had the version. That evening, Sarah posted, "Some people can't handle your light. Protect your peace." 47 likes inside an hour. Lisa commented, "Stay golden, babe." Mike liked it. "I want to be fair. Lisa has known Sarah since college. Her mom was scared for her daughter. Her sister was trying to help. None of them were bad people. But not one of them reached out to ask what I experienced that night. None of them mentioned the lab. None of them mentioned what she said to me in front of people. They had a version of the night that didn't include any of that, and they were completely certain of it. I read the vague post one more time. 47 likes. Comments about staying strong and knowing your worth. I thought about what it said, that her first instinct after finding the note before asking what she'd done, or whether I was okay, was to frame herself publicly as someone whose light was simply too much for certain people. She wasn't wrong that I couldn't handle something. I just think we disagreed on what it was. The narrative was already written. I just wasn't in it. I want to be honest about something. I didn't need receipts to know what I'd already decided. But there were people in my life now holding a very confident version of events, and somewhere underneath the calm I was projecting, I felt the wobble. Not about leaving, I was clear on that, but about whether I'd been wrong to feel what I'd been feeling for months before the party, whether I'd been constructing something that wasn't there, whether maybe the trust issues she diagnosed were real and I'd just been too proud to see it. So I went back through everything, not to build something against her, to stay grounded in what I actually knew. I made myself do it carefully, not looking for the thing that would confirm I was right, looking for the thing that might tell me I was wrong. If I was going to step away from 2 years and be sure of it, I needed to have actually looked. I screenshotted the text thread, all 14 messages, the 3 voicemails, the timestamps. I read through the sequence again in daylight, like a stranger reading it for the first time. Love bomb. Gaslight. Anger. Insult. Cry. Fine. Be like that. That pattern. In 6 hours. In response to a sticky note, I went back to the Instagram. The 9 posts still up, all still public. The retreat photo. The My Fave creative partner caption. The Friday happy hour. All posted by her. For anyone to see, just never brought up with me. Here's what I want to be clear about. Those posts and that text thread didn't prove anything definitive about her and Mike. I'm not going to claim they did. Maybe it really was a close work friendship. Maybe the party really was just a game to her. Maybe I'll never know exactly what was or wasn't there. But what I did know, with the posts and the timestamps and the pattern of labels across the past year all confirmed together, was this. She had built something with someone she worked with, close enough to document 9 times in 2 weeks, and she had never thought to mention it. And every single time I'd gotten near noticing it, she'd taken my instinct and handed it back to me with a diagnosis. That wasn't an argument I could lose. Because I hadn't been confused about what I was seeing. I'd just been told, repeatedly, that seeing it was the problem. I thought about the version of me she'd described to her mom, to Lisa, to her sister, the man with trust issues, the man who couldn't handle his girlfriend having fun, the man who blew up something good over nothing. I didn't recognize that person, but I'd been letting her definition of me carry a lot of weight for a very long time. There's a difference between proof of betrayal and proof of a pattern. I didn't have the first, but I had the second. And the second, it turned out, was the one I actually needed. I put my phone down. I didn't need to show any of this to anyone. I didn't need to post anything or correct anyone reading from her script. I had what I needed to stay clear. That was enough. At 8:14 the morning, I sent one text. We're done. Come get your things by Saturday. Don't bring anyone. I muted the thread. I texted Daniel that evening, brief, not dramatic. Just, here's what happened. I'm okay, not looking for input. He said okay and asked if I wanted to grab dinner that week. I said yes. I told Priya the same way. She'd been at the party. She already knew more than I needed to explain. I didn't respond to Lisa. I didn't respond to Sarah's mom or her sister. Not to punish anyone, I just didn't have anything to say that would land with people who had already decided, and I wasn't going to spend energy trying. I didn't post anything. No vague post, no subtweet, nothing. Sarah came to get her things on Friday. I wasn't home. I'd made plans to be elsewhere, left the key accessible, and let her handle it. She texted after. I left your apartment key on the counter. I read that one. Didn't reply. I blocked where I needed to. And then I started my week. I know that sounds anticlimactic. Like it should be bigger. But there's something that happens when you stop managing how everyone else feels about a decision you've already made. The noise doesn't stop, but it stops sounding like it belongs to you. I went to work Monday. Gym on Tuesday. Plans with Daniel for the weekend. I had stopped explaining myself. I didn't feel victorious about any of it. I wasn't sitting at home savoring anything. I was just going through my week without the constant background noise of someone else's version of who I was. That, it turned out, was enough. 4 months later, I got an invitation to Tom and Erin's wedding. They'd been together for 7 years. Vineyard venue, small ceremony, late afternoon in February. I RSVP'd yes. I brought Claire. Claire and I had been seeing each other for about 6 weeks by then. We met at Daniel's birthday, which felt right, in a quiet way. She's an architect. She asks questions and waits for the answers. On our third date, a trail hike, she didn't look at her phone once. I noticed that. Didn't say anything. Just noticed it. I knew Sarah would be at the wedding. Her name was in the shared seating chart in the group chat. I didn't consider not going. Tom and Erin were my friends too, and I wasn't going to let that feel complicated anymore. We arrived at the vineyard around 4. The ceremony was small and genuine. Tom cried a little at the vows and didn't try to hide it. I found myself thinking, briefly, about what it looks like when 2 people choose each other clearly, not the feeling of it, but the daily practice. Honesty. Showing up, trusting that the other person is doing the same. During cocktail hour, I spotted Sarah near the bar. She was alone. She looked quieter than I remembered. Different, somehow. She caught my eye and I nodded once and turned back to the conversation I was already in. I wasn't dreading the moment. I wasn't feeling much of anything about it. I was at a wedding with someone I liked, in a room full of people I cared about, and whatever version of me had existed in her texts and her vague posts felt like a different chapter. She found me when Claire had stepped away. She made her way across the cocktail hour and stopped about a foot in front of me like she'd thought about this, like she'd run through a few versions of how it would go. "Alex." She smiled, but it looked careful. "You look good." "Thank you." "So do you." A pause. "I think about what happened a lot," she said. I looked at her. "I hope you're doing well, Sarah." She blinked. That wasn't the response she'd come over with. "Don't you think we should have talked more? Like, actually talked it through?" I considered it. Genuinely. For a second, we said everything we needed to say. She opened her mouth, closed it. I could see her looking for the angle the way back into whatever version of this conversation she'd prepared for. But I hadn't given her anything to push against. Nothing to fight, nothing to negotiate with. I really do hope you're doing well." I smiled. "Warm, not cold. Enjoy the night." And I turned back to the room. Claire came back from the bar with 2 glasses of wine. Jake was nearby. Priya was across the patio. I thought about what it meant that she'd come over prepared, careful smile, rehearsed opening, and left with less than she'd arrived with. Not because I'd won anything, because there was nothing left to argue about. About an hour later, after dinner, Priya found me on the patio. "Can I say something?" "Sure." She looked at me for a second. She looked like she was about to cry, but she couldn't find the reason to. I nodded. "I was right there when she said that to you," Priya said. "At the party. I heard it. I didn't say anything at the time, and I've thought about that. You don't need to apologize for that. I know. I just wanted you to know I didn't forget." That was it. No verdict, no speech. Just a witness telling me she'd been there. That what I'd been carrying for 4 months wasn't only mine anymore. I went back inside and found Claire at our table. She was laughing at something Aaron's cousin had said. I sat down next to her, and she touched my arm without looking, briefly, the way you do with someone who's already comfortable being near you. Sarah left before the dancing started. I stayed until the end. About 6 weeks after the wedding, Jake told me about the mic situation. I hadn't asked. We were getting coffee, and he mentioned it the way you mention something that's already over casually, the way you'd note that a place you used to go had quietly closed down. Apparently, Mike had been in a long-term relationship the whole time. His girlfriend, Carla, had been following Sarah's Instagram for a while. The posts, the rooftop, the creative retreat, the My Fave creative partner caption, Carla had seen all of it. There was a conversation between her and Mike that Jake didn't know the details of, but the result was visible. Things shifted at the agency. Some colleagues pulled back from Sarah quietly. She and Mike stopped appearing together. "I'm not saying anything happened," Jake said. "I'm just saying it got complicated." "Yeah," I said. I'd spent months half expecting to feel something when this particular other shoe dropped. Some clear, satisfying moment. The kind you replay and think, "See, there it is." There wasn't. Mostly I thought, "Enjoy your games." The story had finished on its own, without me needing to do anything. I mentioned it to Claire over dinner that evening. She asked if I was okay. I sat with it for a second. "Yeah," I said. "I think I honestly haven't thought about her in a while." "Good," Claire said. That was the whole conversation. Lisa drifted from Sarah gradually over the following months. I heard this through Priya, secondhand. No specific falling out. Just distance. The kind that accumulates when being someone's close friend starts to feel like it costs you something. 8 months after the wedding, Jake mentioned Sarah had moved to a different city. New agency, fresh start somewhere else. I heard it. I nodded. I moved on. The promotion came through in March. Senior engineer, 30% salary bump. I'd been working toward it for over a year. It came with a handshake and a number I hadn't expected to see for another couple of years. I still have a photo of the sticky note on my phone. 6 words on yellow paper. I don't look at it often, but sometimes, when something is pressing in and I start to feel like I owe someone an explanation I can't quite shape, I open it. Not jealous anymore. Not your boyfriend either. I was never jealous. I just knew what respect looked like. And I stayed long enough in a relationship where I wasn't getting it that I'd started to believe the absence of it was my fault. She called it a game. I called it the end. I really do hope she's doing well.